5 days away. Spring practice at Miami. Welcome into the Voice of College Football Miami channel and our weekly show with Cam Underwood from State of the U, breaking down the Canes with you each and every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Bring those comments and questions into the live chat, and we will get to them. And, of course, consider subscribing, but also contributing here and supporting our show with Cam. Cam, how we doing tonight?
Good. Just putting my phone on vibrate so we don't have any interruptions or anything. But yeah, no, I'm doing well, hanging out. So good to be here.
So not a lot of news to get to. So again, this is a perfect week, folks, to bring your comments and your questions because we typically can't get to all of them. Thank you for your support. This is what we're going to go to start this. You made a decision at some point, and based on past conversations, at one point your dream school was Vanderbilt. But at one point, of course, you made the decision to go to Miami and enroll, and you made that life-changing experience. Okay, there's one thing to make a decision in your head and have some level of attachment to a school and its sports programs. But at what point did the university, the sports programs capture your heart?
Honestly, it wasn't even athletics that was my driving factor. It was the academics. And, the move to get away from home. If you don't know, I'm from Detroit, so most everybody from my graduating class went to Michigan or State, and a couple people went to Kalamazoo College, things like that. But I wanted to get away, and so did South Florida and everything. But I'm not. Geez, this is I don't even know how many years ago, but there was a SB Nation. It was like a content push. It was a coordinated program of why I became a fan of the team that I'm a fan of as bloggers and whatnot. So why I became a Miami Hurricane. I first fell in love with the baseball team because they were always in, the regionals or super regionals or College World Series. So I have a picture. I actually just recently found it. It's in the thing over there. I'm not going to show you guys right now, but of me in middle school with the Miami Hurricane script M hat because, script D, Detroit, script M, just it kind of fit for me. The old English M, as it were. So, it was really the May 1st that I had to decide, and Vanderbilt and I could not come to an agreement upon that. Was it? And then, when I got there, I was just all in. And it was really the first Florida State football game in 2000. Because I've been to the other games. I've been to, Michigan Stadium. I've seen various games. Like I was there, last second touchdown, Scott Drisback to Mercury Haynes in 92-3 against Virginia, something like that. I was there, unfortunately, 94. I knew it was
I think 4. I'm not positive. I wouldn't bet my mortgage on it, but I think I'm right.
Yeah, but it was somewhere in there. Yeah. And I was diagonal from that play. So you took a drop back, you threw it the other direction. And so if you've never been to Michigan Stadium, I would say go. It's 112,000. You and 112,000 of your closest friends. Everybody stands because the players are tall and they have their helmets on and everything. So the first row, and so Michigan Stadium is built into a hill, if you don't know this. And that's why they can still actually do 3 more extensions because the earth is the foundation. And so when you look at the stadium and you see where the doorways are, you come in at row 85 and go down into the hill. But with the players on ground level, you have offensive linemen 6'6", 6'7", and then, people in the first row you can't see. So they stand up, and then the people behind them can't see, and they stand up. And so you and everybody stand up. And I just remember the play was going into the Michigan marching band because there is no band section at Michigan. So the band is on the field in the corner there, beyond the field of play. And you'll see that if both teams, if Notre Dame were to bring in a band or something, they would be on the field area. So I just remember dropping back, throwing the ball that way and everything. And I don't know what tuba player or trombone player it was, but it was a band member started it and everybody went crazy. And there was that. I was there, unfortunately, for the Cordell Stewart throw of a lifetime, Colorado a couple years later, things like that. So I'd been to plenty of football games, plenty of college football games. But Miami, Florida State, first of all, it's different than any game I've ever been to. And then in 2000, it was super duper different because those teams were absolutely elite and incredible. And that was really it for me. So, hopefully we find some players who make a similar decision in their recruiting process to continue their career and academic pursuits at the University of Miami. There's a lot to love about the University of Miami. I can be a walking, talking infomercial for the University of Miami. There's new dorms, there's the new Shalala Student Center, there's the new music library campus over there. There's 3 new dorms, I want to say, since I was in school, including the new Lakeside Village, which just won an award for sustainability and integrated living and things like that. Like, you're minutes away from Coconut Grove, you're minutes away from South Beach, you're minutes away from Brickell. Even if you want to come up to Fort Lauderdale, you're only 30 minutes away. If you want to go a different direction, if you're trying to go over by Tropical Park, which is where, everybody wants to be a stadium, you're talking 15 minutes. Obviously, Miami traffic notwithstanding, because Miami traffic can be terrible. But look, man, there's a lot of great things, and hopefully we find some players who agree like me that there's a lot of great things about the University of Miami, and we continue to build a program and a team that will exemplify the greatness that we want to have.
Spring practice starts in 5 days. Mario Cristobal's tenure, in a sense, starts on the field in 5 days. For you, this is the most anticipated spring practice since?
'17 or '18, probably. Mark Richt's second year in '17, coming off of a bowl win for the first time in 12 years or something like that. The previous season, when we beat West Virginia in the Orlando Bowl, whatever you want to call it. Brad Kaya coming back. I'm sorry. You did not have Brad Kaya coming back. But that was, so I would say like 17. 18 was one of unfortunate dread because, like, not the biggest fan of Malik Rozier as quarterback, and for performance reasons, not personal reasons, whatever. But it was kind of just like, it was kind of smoke and mirrors last year, and I don't know that you were able to do that more than once. Solid verbal. They were the first ones I heard coin the term the LRO, luck runs out, and I was trepidatious that the luck was going to run out in 18, and oh boy did it. So I would say between those 2 years, and I would say probably between those 2 years. With the honorable mention to both of the years with new offensive coordinators recently, Dan Enos and Rhett Lashley, their first years each. Just because we wanted to see something a little bit different than what we'd seen. But I would say the 17-18 would be the most anticipated that I've been looking forward to spring recently.
Elaine Fernandez is in the chat. Appreciate you being here. Which player will most likely have double-digit sacks?
Yikes. I don't think it's going to be any, really. I think it's going to be more of a Johnny Holstaff, kind of a everybody in kind of a thing, more than one standout guy. If I had to take a guess on one dude, Elijah Roberts, 4-star recruit. He's 6'6". So he has long arms. We've done well with guys like that. I would say one of the young guys, but I think they need another mango season until they get there. Like a Nigel Kelly or a Cyrus Moss. I don't necessarily see it for Jafari Harvey, in terms of 10 sacks, really. So if I had to pick a name, it would be that. But I say all of that after saying that I do not expect it to be anybody. But if I had to pick a name, that would be the name.
Falconer X, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Want to remind everyone that Cam gives of his time here each and every Wednesday night here at the Voice of College Football. Consider supporting us and the channel, the show. right here in the super chat. There was a question pertaining to the tight ends and defensive end coaching position.
Yeah. Again, I really feel that Stephen Field is going to be the tight end coach when it is announced. In terms of defensive end coach, there are multiple guys who have interviewed. One of which was Charlie Partridge from Pittsburgh, their defensive line coach, who's a South Florida native. There's interest between Jason Taylor, Hall of Fame player Jason Taylor, St. Thomas Aquinas defensive coordinator. In case you don't know, Jason Taylor used to play for Dolphins, number 99. Ring a bell. There's interest with
Akron
him.
University.
Akron University, exactly. But maybe in an analyst or consultant role as opposed to on-field coach. But there's interest both ways, it seems, and has been reported. There were a couple other guys who interviewed as well as Partridge for the job. I think it's going to be somebody for defensive ends. I think it's going to be somebody who's not in the building right now. In tight ends, I really just think it's going to be Steve Field. I could be wrong, but that's my answer as of today, March the 2nd.
We have talked quite a bit of Josh Connerly in recent weeks. He continues to be one of, I believe, only 2 top 300 players in the nation, and he is well within that range as a top 15 player in the nation out of the state of Washington, as one of the top offensive tackles in the country, who is still unsigned for 2022. Is there any reason to believe that his thoughts or intents are any different than what they've been over the last month?
No. You know, his dad came out in a 247 conversation and said, you know, they're going to take visits pretty much on the West Coast. 2 official visits, 1 unofficial to Washington. And the hope here was that Miami would get another visit, an unofficial visit right now from Connerly. And if you've been following me for any kind of time, and if you haven't read it, you probably should. It's a feature I wrote a couple years ago called The Recruiting Rules, and also on here, and also on Twitter, and also in other recruiting pieces I've written. I've been very clear in saying for a major non-Floridian target, an out-of-state target, you have to get at least 1 unofficial visit and 1 official visit. They have to pay their way to Miami 1 time, whether it's for Elite Prospect Day, Paradise Camp, Elite Player Camp, whatever they're calling it now, whatever it is, they got to pay their way 1 time to show actual interest, and then come for the other visit that is paid for by the University of Miami. That has to happen. And you got Connerly in for an official visit in January and he plays basketball at Rainier Beach in Seattle, Washington, one of the preeminent high school basketball programs in the country. Which is why he was like, no, I'm going to focus on that and then not take these visits during the rest of this time and then circle back in March when it opens up. And I think that like this weekend, he had the ability to take visits, but basketball tournament, so he didn't. And yeah, so you got him down to 1 time, but now by his father's words, unless there's a secret visit or something, it appears that you're not going to get him back for that second visit, that unofficial visit. That really belies interest in my mind for a major out-of-state target. If you're not going to get that second visit, then you're not going to get the player. So, I mean, shoot your shot and everything. You obviously, Cristobal and Mirabal were recruiting him when they were at Oregon. And you know, try to continue that. And hey, let's come on down. You liked us enough. You like our scheme. You like what we do. We're just going to do it a couple thousand miles east. So, you know, come and visit. And you got that, but there's not been any signs of continuing connection between Connerly and Miami. So unless something seriously crazy happens, I do not expect to see him in a Hurricanes uniform.
When you just said the name Mario Cristobal, that's the first time I ever put together the recruiting term crystal ball and Cristo ball.
Yeah, that's the branding they've been using on 247 is Cristo balling. So
yes,
it makes sense.
It's not one of my brighter moments. I'm not bragging about that. That it's
look, sometimes
2 years.
Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees, man. It happens.
Armando, which of the three Amigos has most receiving yards? Thank you for the contribution.
The three Amigos being the freshman wide receivers from last year: Jacoby George, Rashard Brinson, and Romello Brinson, Rashard Smith, and Jacoby George.
Okay.
In case anyone was wondering who he's specifically referencing.
I didn't know.
To me, I think it's going to be Jacoby George. I think that he is in a really good spot to really take a major step forward in targets and everything. And I think that Brinson is a little redundant to what Frank Ladson brings as a transfer from Clemson to the roster. Those two things being said, then I think that, George has the ability as the number 3 option. So if you're talking about starters of, Keyshawn Smith, Keyshawn. Yeah, I was right. Keyshawn Smith, Frank Ladson, and then Jacoby George as like that third or fourth, if you want to have a dedicated slot guy as the number 3, maybe. But I think that he's in a spot where he could step up to have the most yards of those 3 past freshmen moving into sophomore year.
When I hear the term 3 Amigos, I immediately go to Mark Jackson, Ricky Nattiel, and Vance Johnson. Can anybody hit that in the chat? Anybody know who I'm referring to there? So a little trivia question.
I know that name. Was it Georgia Tech basketball or something?
Ricky Nattiel, Vance Johnson. This is before your time. Not a long time before your time. Ricky Nattiel, Mark Jackson, Vance Johnson. The 3 Amigos.
Нет.
While Cam possibly stores that away in the back of his mind, he will answer this one. Falconer X, appreciate you being here with always the odd number on the super chat. 543. If Cam Underwood was a real superhero, what would his superpower be, and what would his outfit look like?
I have no idea. Singing really loudly.
You get an answer. You always have an answer.
I mean, I would say just having Banshee-like volume, and I don't even know. It would just be just a tuxedo or a Tails tuxedo, which was our concert uniform in college or something. Being able to turn the volume up to levels unseen, which unfortunately I had to do at the secret day job the other day, and everybody was actually. One thing unfortunate. I was singing. I forget what I was singing. I was walking around and I was singing a Justin Timberlake or part of a Justin Timberlake song, and it was like one thing, and like multiple people were like, "Yo, are you good?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, what do you mean? They're like, "Oh yeah, no, but because I'm loud sometimes, but I would say something like that."
Falconer X didn't ask the question of me, but when you think of outfits for superheroes, tights and capes come to mind first and foremost. Right. So I just want to stay away from that. Yeah, but the superpower would be a interesting one to, flying, being invisible, being the Flash with supersonic speed. Those things come to mind for me.
Absolutely.
Nice exchange between George, of course, the Gators fan who joins us on a regular basis, and people asking him, Brian, why are you here? And George's response is, I was hoping I was irritating you.
Well, I mean, ask a question, get an answer, I guess. So, yeah.
Daryl, thank you. Omar, got it. The late 1980s wide receiver core for the Denver Broncos with John Elway at quarterback.
Got
it. J.R. Jefferson, or Epperson, I'm sorry. And others got it. I'm not going to go through the list, but others got it as well. Very nice. Spring football. So you've covered this program for quite a long time. And as a member of the media, how difficult is it for you to get valid information that you can trust out of spring practice to where you feel confident in making player assessments?
I mean, specifically for me, it's tough because I don't do this full time, so.
Which amazes me based on the
Right.
amount of information you've got stuffed in your head and
Yeah.
current information. Like I've got historic information stuffed in my head and like roster personnel in my head, but you seem to be like, yeah, 30 minutes ago this came out and 42 minutes ago that came out, and I'm like, well, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am I just read a lot. I talk to people, and there are some people that I trust, around the program at various levels and things. But yeah, it's always been. I mean, State of the U is a fan-sided blog. Like, let's put that out there first of all. So I've never claimed to be a full-time journalist. I've never claimed to be an insider or the guy most plugged. Or I've never claimed to be those things because I'm not those things. I'm very comfortable in the lane that we have created and that we respectfully dominate over, in terms of commentary and analysis. I'm very comfortable with that. Okay. So yeah, it is difficult because, having been invited sometimes, it's just like, well, I have the secret day job, or, previously, like, I teach, or I taught, and, this is districts season right now. I think districts in Broward County for vocal music is probably this week or next week, just looking at the date and knowing the schedule, you know what I mean? So that's 12-hour days at the schoolhouse. That's rehearsals. That's not, no, I don't have time at 10:30 or 9:30 in the morning on a Tuesday to schlep myself down to Coral Gables. I have something else. So there's that barrier that's just in general, because of how I do things with the fan-sided facing blog. Well, past that, it's really just every data point adds to the depth of the conversation and the analysis, So if you see one play put out by Canes football in a video form on social media, that's great. What else happened? Like, oh, talking to, whomever. Oh, because there's people who go to practices, civilians, non-journalists or whatever. It's like, hey, Bob, you were at practice today. What did you see? Well, yeah, like Mark Rogers made that great catch. Mark Rogers also dropped 4 balls and had to do some up downs because of whatever else. Oh, didn't see that, because they're not necessarily going to put that out there. You got to listen to the coaches. You got to listen to the players. And then just like, I mean, obviously having been in this industry for a long time, you understand how it is to read between the lines a little bit of, yeah, we're working hard on some things, which is okay. We're working hard on some things because some things aren't going well. And it's like, well, defense is going really strong and everything. And the offense, they're just still in the install. So the offense is struggling to move the ball, whether it's rushing or whether it's passing, because defense is more read and react, and they're trying to do. So you have to kind of divine through, you have to kind of weave your way through what's said to find the center of things. So it can be a little challenging, but and to your point, like, I see everything, I read everything eventually, right? And you just file all that together, and then eventually you're going to kind of get what it looks like, and with a viewpoint that I think is reasonable based upon everything that's out there that's been, said, heard, seen, reported, all those things.
George's last comment that I posted for a few seconds, I think, Cam, you'll understand why I find it amusing. Not because it was targeted at you, because just this is how George talks about everything. He responded to Falcon Rex by saying Cam's secret power or superpower is making excuses for why Miami loses all the time.
Facts. Wow. Okay. I mean, hey, I try not to make excuses, but I mean, no, that's a good joke.
I know it's not the truth, but it just struck
me.
No,
hey, look, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're taking life too seriously. No, that's a good one.
Absolutely. Armando, appreciate you being here. This year, over under top 20 defense, and why? Over under top 20 offense, why? Over under 3 5-stars. What recruits are we in best position to land? Wow, packed a
That's a lot of
lot in
questions.
there.
Okay.
I
All
think the
right. Let's
show's
dig.
over.
All right. And I'm going to answer these authentically. We're not going to pay them short shrift. So Armando. And if it's Armando from Bandcamp years ago, Armando, it's good. I never reached out. I still have that person's number. I need to text them. But if it is that Armando with the Y in the last name, or to start the last name, good to see you. Over under top 20 defense. I'm going to go under. So in the 20 to whatever higher number that would be, 20 to 40. Why? I just think that there's some holes on the roster, and there's going to be turnover, obviously, and you can still have improvement by not hitting that number. So I think that we're going to see improvement based upon the coaches that are here and some of the changes, but there's still some holes to be plugged currently where I think probably over, but with it being over, it will still be improved. And I mean, obviously now are you talking about yards per play, efficiency metrics, overall total defense? I think just in general, we're talking about just kind of holistically, if you were to put all these things together, will Miami be one of the top 20 defenses in America? I would say probably closer to, my goal will be 25 to 30 this year, and then really getting it up there next year when everybody just has another year under their belts here and everything. But I can still see there being productivity and improvement from last year. In terms of offense, overall, I'm going to say yes. And yes, top 20. I would say probably in the lower range of that top 20, maybe 17 to 20. Why? You have one of the best quarterbacks in America leading the group, and you have stacked skill talent everywhere. If the offensive line is able to do the job, then you can probably elevate that even more. But with Tyler Van Dyke leading things, and with a plethora of receivers, of one of the deepest running back rooms in America, they got even deeper with Trevante Citizen in this recruiting class, and offensive line that has experience, depth, talent. Now, I'm not going to say that it's, the best offensive line ever, but there are pieces there and things to like, and a head coach who won 2 national titles here as an offensive lineman, so he knows what he's talking about. And then his best friend who's coached offensive line, including, a couple top 10, or at least one top 10 pick in Penei Sewell, who knows what he's talking about. That is the thing that could really, I think, elevate Miami from 17 to 20 to like higher in that group. But when you have a guy like Tyler Van Dyke leading things, the floor should be very high for what the offense does in general. And you bring in Josh Gaddis as offensive coordinator. You saw what the development improvement was at Michigan there. And it was funny. He was on the Joe Rose show, and he was like, yeah, we're going to run the ball, but, there's going to be a little bit more, throwing the ball. And, we have a really good quarterback, which is basically like, so we ran the ball a lot at Michigan because, I had some mid for quarterback, but I got Tyler Van Dyke, so I'm not going to run the ball all the time because I got this kid playing quarterback, which is good. So I think that would be why Miami, again, I would foresee in the top 20, but with the ability of the offensive line to do the job, that could elevate even higher than that, top 15, top 10. I mean, they really take everything clicking to get up there. Yeah. Over under 3 5-stars in this recruiting class. Push. So I think 3 is the number. And that's why when I do over unders, I always do a half, because then you can't, push. At the number 3, I push. 2.5, I go over. 3.5, I go under. And I would love to be wrong in the way of undershooting it. So if I say push and we get 4 or 5, so we go over, great. Even if we exceed 3.5, other number, if we were going by half a number, yeah, I would like to see that. But, I mean, there's plenty. So you have Jalen Rashada, who's a 5-star quarterback from Pittsburgh, California, lifelong Hurricanes fan. He gave an interview as a middle schooler saying that Miami is his dream school. He's recently gotten an offer. Dante Moore from Michigan, Detroit Martin Luther King, he has an offer. He has had his Rashada debuts. He's in 5-star range at 29 overall on the 247 composite rankings that just got updated today or yesterday. Dante Moore went from 15 to 8 overall in this class. Not quarterback, overall player. And he's visiting campus, I believe I saw or heard that sometime soon, if not today, Dante Moore. So those are 2 quarterbacks. Those are options. You have Jalen Brown, the wide receiver from Gulliver Prep, who was on campus today when the dead period just ended. I think Miami's in a really good spot there. And then to get to 3, you're talking another wide receiver. Is that Brandon Ennis? Is that Carnell Tate from IMG? Is that Jaden Wayne, the defensive lineman from Washington State, Seattle, or somewhere over there in Washington State? But he's visited a couple times. There's a couple offensive linemen who are 5-stars who are connected to Miami in this class. So if you're talking about a quarterback, let's just call it a quarterback, a receiver, and a lineman of whatever side of the ball, that's how you get to 3. I could see how someone could talk themselves into more. I definitely could. I just need to see a little bit more to go there fully. I think it is very possible to go in that direction, have a top 5 class this year, boom, 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 boom. I think it is very possible. But to make it probable, I would just need to see a little bit more to have that full faith. The last part of the question, and again, Armando, thank you for all of the questions, was who are we in best position to land right now? I think that there's just a bunch of guys that Miami is really connected to. You have Reuben Bane from Miami Central, Jalen Brown already mentioned, Jaden Wayne already mentioned, Jalen Rashada and Dante Moore already mentioned, and there's going to be more. I mean, you're not going to have a 6-person class, and I've only named 6 guys for you. But I think, obviously, and I mean, Hakeem Williams from Stranahan is a guy who's been to campus 11 times in this last year. Peyton Kirkland from the Orlando area is a 4-star offensive lineman who's 6'6", 330. There's lots of guys who are interested in the University of Miami at this current time. And I think that Miami's going to be in a good position to land a number of them. So as the summer heats up and things, and remember, this staff is coming in mid-cycle and you've heard Cristobal say it, you heard Manny Diaz say it, you've heard Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, any coach you think of, to recruit elite players, it's a 2 to 3 year cycle. It is not just their senior year. So if you're waiting to recruit somebody until September 1st of the senior year, which is the day you can officially offer someone as a senior, if you're waiting till then to build a relationship with a top guy, you've waited too long. Look at Avante Williams personally. We started that relationship with him by the rules and everything. But when we were recruiting his cousin, Lorenzo Lingard. So when it came time for him to commit and everything, he said, that relationship I had in Miami goes back years, plural. Florida, yeah, they're right down the street because he's from the land and everything, but it's not as the relationship did not have the longevity. So even coming in now for the 2023 recruiting class, this staff is behind. So now they're lobbing out the offers and everything because, again, just like I said, it's a multi-year process to recruit the top elite players. That would be the one thing that would give me pause in this recruiting class. But you also do see usually new coaches get that bump in their first full recruiting cycle, not the one that they salvage at the end. We had a good class, 14 guys, and we're top 15 nationally. So that's the salvage class, the transition class. Now we're pushing to the full class. So there's a lot of competing factors here, but I think that, it's very possible that Miami has a top 10 class. I would say likely that they have a top 10 class. It's very possible to have a top 5 class if things go right. And with things going right, then to Armando's question, plenty of these guys that are on the board or just in the world of high school football and the recruiting landscape will eventually make their way to Miami, whether I've mentioned their names here today or not. But as we move forward, there'll be other times where I'll mention even more names. Trust and believe.
If you want to talk Miami football all the time, you can jump on our Discord. Just go to Patreon, search MarkRogersTV, and we've got a link available for you that I will send you to hop on there and talk whatever college football team that you would like. And we've only been running for about a week. We've got about 20 or 25 people on there. So jump on there, talk college football again, Miami or whatever fan base you're from. And I jump in there as well about once a day. Andy says beat Texas A&M, and you are instantly in the top 10.
Of the rankings or of recruiting? I mean, maybe. It really depends on where we start. I think in terms of the rankings, I'm a proponent of rankings being later than earlier. I've changed my thought on that over time, but regardless of the ranking number, I will agree with Andy in the unsaid sentiment that if we beat Texas A&M, that's a landmark victory to build upon. And if we reference that back to the previous answer about talking about this recruiting stuff, if you've read the recruiting rules, you know that the last recruiting rule is win. That is proof of concept for recruits. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And we're already winning. Come and join the train. We'll win even more. You win at Texas A&M this year. There's your proof. That's the thing. That's the thing that you talked about.
I think we talked about it last week. In my book, if this team beats either Clemson or Texas A&M, that will be the program's most significant win since they stepped off the field against Notre Dame at Hard Rock in 2017.
Fact. I agree completely. Who else has Miami beaten since then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much a lot of teams that they are supposed to beat. Cormani McLean. So he's being brought up in the chat. Arguably the best
of course.
cornerback in the country out of Lakeland, Florida.
Lake Gibson High School, and that is where Mario Cristobal was the keynote speaker for the football banquet yesterday. And so that is not a violation because they paid the fee. They hired the man to come and speak, and I'm sure that he enjoyed doing that up in Polk County, which is somewhere that Miami has struggled to recruit recently. But Cormani McLean is the kind of prospect that, if you want to turn things around, that's how you do it, and that's where you start. So yeah, he's a top recruit, and again, coming in mid-cycle for somebody of Cormani McLean's caliber, it's going to take a lot of work, but Cristobal's about this work. He's talking about, recruits are saying that they get text messages or they see text messages from him at 2 and 4 in the morning and things like that. People saying he doesn't leave the facility until 2, waking up in the middle of the night to, send a text message to recruits and everything because he's incessant about talent acquisition, which you have to. You have to, because if you don't have the players, you can't make the plays. You can't make the plays. You can't win the games. Just plain and simple. So, talent acquisition is a major factor. And yeah, Cristobal is very dialed in with that.
You'll have to interpret this one, but it's the last question I see posted from Byron about can you explain the hiring of high school coach and if it will affect Reuben Bane recruitment?
So Reuben Bane plays at Miami Central. We just hired, was it Lockett back? Or one of the assistants. We hired somebody from Central in a support. Wait, his brother. And we hired somebody else from Central, I believe, in a support role. So will it affect Reuben Bane's recruitment? That's up to Reuben Bane, really. But it is not. I know that some people were talking about it being a violation years ago. Like if you hired a high school head coach to a non-on-field role, then you would not be able to recruit that high school for a couple of years or something like that. Or there was I remember there was a rule or something like that, which is like why when Miami hired Mike Rumpf it was very strongly stated, no, he's going to be the cornerbacks coach. He's an on-field coach. So, quiet all that noise about Miami will not be able to recruit at American Heritage for 2 or 3 years or whatever, like boom. I do not believe that the scenario continues where if you hire a coach, then you cannot recruit anyone from that school. Plus the fact his brother is already on staff and everything. So, there's that. But I don't think that anything would change with that. But again, I think that that's up to Reuben if that makes Miami more or less appealing to him. But I don't think that there's any structural thing that would preclude Miami from recruiting. Because and think about it, man. It took them forever to win a state championship, right? At Miami Central. When I was at Miramar beat Central in the state semifinals in 2009 before winning their first, and to this day, only state championship in football. So Central has not been winning state championships for eons and eons. It's been in the last decade and a half, right? Really, the last 13 years. But that program is a monster. You know what I mean? Like, they're up there with Aquinas. Or, in terms of Power 5 players. Now, Aquinas probably does send more guys down the roster to other, smaller schools, but top-end talent, there's been more than you can shake a stick at Miami Central. Plenty. And there's current year, next year, year after that, there's going to be the year after that, and so on and so forth. You think Miami is going to, the University of Miami, the Hurricanes, are going to do something that will preclude them from recruiting any of the talent that goes to Miami Central Senior High School at this current time? And the state of their program and what they're doing and the talent that they're churning out? I strongly disagree.
Folks, we appreciate you being here. We've got about 2:30 on the line. Falconer X had just pointed out that there were like 65 likes with this many people on the line. And keep in mind, we've had over 500 people make their way through the stream over the last 45 minutes. So please hit the like button. Doesn't take much to do that. It's a click of the mouse. Hit the like button. And of course, consider contributing here at the Voice of College Football to our Miami show. And we're here every Wednesday night. Bring some folks in here with you. We topped out close to 400 people online with us during last week's show, and we've exceeded 200, and that'll continue to climb and climb and climb and climb. So you got to keep in mind, we hit the air at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday because it usually is that last 5 to 10 minutes when we've got people in here at a fever pitch, and you miss the bulk of the show. So we're on for one solid hour every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time with Cam. A couple people commented and wanted your take on the new strength and conditioning coach.
Hello, Aaron Feld, big dude, incredible energy. And, I was at work at the secret day job yesterday, and people were like, yo, your energy is on a 12. I need it down on a 3. I had a long night yesterday, and it's a little challenging for me to have you that energetic. Nah, buddy. If you need, then you need to get away from me because my energy is going to be here, if not increase. So let's make this happen. And even me at that kind of energy level pales in comparison to Aaron Feld. He is a ball of energy, and does great work. You look at the numbers of what guys are squatting and everything. Chance Williams and Xavier Restrepo breaking their own positional records for squat. You have the new kid, I forget his name, who came over from Oregon, the Saga Polu, I think his name is, the offensive lineman, squatting 600 or 700 easy. You know what I mean? Look, it seems like bodies are changing. You see guys looking different, right, in the way that you want to see them look different. Just even if it's in a picture, shoulders, arms, just they look developed in a different kind of way. So it seems to be going in that kind of a direction. David Feely was a different kind of a guy in terms of his process and everything. He's at Duke now. Wish him the best. He came over from Temple. Hey, he's good and everything. I will not say that Feld is, I mean, it seems that Feld is better from his resume of being SNC and where he's worked in the world of college football. The other thing that I will need to see is the application of the work on the field, right? So are more guys getting injured, more or less? How are they playing? How are they using the changed physicality? Because you're gonna hear everybody in the fall. 20 pounds heavier. It's all lean muscle. I've dropped 8% body fat. I'm faster, stronger. I jump higher. All that. Yeah. Does it look like it? Do they play like that? And hopefully they will. But in general, even absent all that, wipe everything that I've just said. I'm going to sum it up like this. We have an SNC coach who is at Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon the last half of a decade. That's our lead guy now. I like it.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. It's flat is.
Yeah, I mean it's almost a full decade because he was up in Oregon for a few years. But I mean, yeah, over the last decade, that'll work.
Cam, the NCAA Football Rules Committee is meeting this week, and I haven't really researched it, but the two aspects of the game that they seem to be looking at, which the two rules that pertain to the same initiative basically is reducing the number of plays to be played in a game and moving the time stoppage plays, like resetting after a first down, for example, considering moving those to the NFL model, which takes time off the clock and obviously reduces the number of plays, with what they state to be concern for the player and the amount of plays that they're racking up during a game. Do you have any thoughts about the college versus the NFL rules and what you would like to see?
I just want to see them take out the fake injury bullshit.
Yeah.
And are there times that guys get hurt? Are there times that guys get cramps? And I mean, like, you got dudes with massive calf muscles, and you see the two, defined. You can see, like, that is a cramp. You can tell. I mean, it looks rock hard on the screen. You can see, it's very apparent that calf muscle is cramping. Okay. But what about all the other times where the offense is gashing through the defense and they're lined up and you hear a coach whistle and yell, oh! And then you just lay down on the ground. Reference, please, the infamous Miami loss to FIU. And that was clearly coached and coordinated. And it's been in other games, not just Miami. We've seen it all across this landscape of college football. That is a scourge that needs to go. The other, does it stop or anything? Like, does the clock stop on a first down and things like that? I would like to see it stay the way that it is to differentiate between college and pro. I think that there is value in college football being unique from professional football in some ways, such as this. But 1 month can't go stop no show. And if they change it, then they change it and everybody will have to adapt. But I would say the fake injury thing would be higher on my list of items to address than, some play stoppages. And I mean, what would be the real change in number, and would that, in the number of plays being run, and would that really have that big of an impact on the players at large? So, like, if there's one big dude who's not in the greatest of shape, if he's playing 60 snaps a game other than 90 snaps a game, well, okay, that makes a difference. But if he's that big and he's not in that kind of shape, he's probably not going to play 90 snaps anyway, right? So in a singular engagement, it makes sense. But is that good for or does it matter to everybody? You know what I mean? That's where I would kind of push back. And again, I would like to see there still be some clear differentiation between college and pro. And they're going to be different anyway because the guys at the pro level are much more skilled on the holistic level. You know, just from even the guys at the bottom of the roster, you know, would be all conference in pretty much every conference in college. You know, but again, the fake injuries I would say is more of a thing to address than the timing for me.
And the one suggestion that stays with me about the fake injuries that seems to be pretty logical, and it's just one of those things that because this has become such an issue, it's too bad when you would target a situation in which somebody was legitimately hurt, but that's just kind of the way it is that you would remove that player for the rest of the series.
Yeah. Or at least, I mean, yeah, you know, at least a couple of plays or the entire series, you know, or you can say the average remaining length of a series. So if they go down on the fourth play and if you do the data analysis, you say, okay, well, most series last 10.6 plays, right? So then cool, you went down after the fourth play. So then 7 plays you sit out, whatever would be the end of that. And if they still have the ball, okay, then you can come back on. So whatever a normal series completion would be from this point.
I like that better.
You know what I mean? But it's a tweak on what you offer. You know, so it's very similar kind of a thing. So either way, you know, it can work. And if you go down after that play and then they score a touchdown on the next one, well, that's the end of the, you know, then you have the variance to say, okay, just like in Mark's model, that's the end of the drive. So we're not going to keep you out another 6 plays to be what would be a normal drive. Well, they scored on the next play after you went out, which probably won't happen anyway because you went down with a fake injury to regroup and relax and, get everybody in the mindset and ability to keep them from scoring. But hey.
I'm into fairness and equity, and that's the reason why I like your revision to that penalty, because yes, the drive could last another 15 plays. It could last one more play. And I don't think that player should be penalized differently because of the duration of the drive. Similarly, targeting. Okay, I'm not going to address the actual evaluation of the officials and the replay officials of the actual penalty, but the enforcement of the penalty. This is the only penalty in sports that I can think of that it depends on at what point in the game that you commit the foul as to the severity of what the foul is and the punishment. That makes no sense to me. Make it a certain number of plays, a certain number of series, something.
And I mean, and while we're at it, can we get a yellow card, red card thing? You know?
Yeah,
and
that too.
I mean, because sometimes, they're egregious. But other times you got big dudes moving really fast and then you slow it down to the infinitesimal, 10,000 frames per second. And you're looking at every one of those 10,000 frames to be like, again, it's not Bugs Bunny. There's no air brakes, and I'm not saying to take away, if you don't want to take it away, fine. Yellow card for it happened, but it was clearly not the intent. Like, I'm already aiming towards the midsection. And then he turtles. So then our helmets touch. But we see, okay, this was not the intent. Cool. Or, all right, it's a hospital ball. And just like, someone of an era gone by, shout out to Chuck Cecil, who made a career for headhunting. And he comes across the middle and, headhunts in that kind of a way. See ya, automatic. And I mean, look, in the world of soccer, they give the yellow card, red card. You get the, hey, caution versus, no, that was egregious. Get out. They're going to be something like that, and you could do it the same way as they do it in soccer. If you accumulate, a couple of yellow cards and that makes a red. So then the next game, there's an easy way, but just to be like, if heads touch or anything and shoulders are closely related to heads, guys, like it's not far on any human being. So even if I go in with my shoulder and then the other person, has Merton Hanks, like a big head and a long neck, and all of a sudden his helmet touches the side of my helmet, then all of a sudden I'm going out because I led with the shoulder, but our heads touch because, it's not a long distance, guys. Like, I don't understand, people don't use their eyes and, understand anatomy. Like, your shoulders and head are closely related. They're very close. And you can go with the shoulder and have your head involved in the ball. Your head's not going to be involved. I'm not going to take my head off and go put it over there, bro. Like, it's not far from your shoulders. Like, it's not, hate it.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here that if all of that can be determined by watching replay frame by frame by frame by frame, it can certainly be determined, did that violator, did he start to make a move at a point in which you could see intent, or did the continued movement of the other player cause him to then target that individual, not because of the intent, but because of the bodies are moving so fast and so quickly that there was a duck by the other player mid-action that they caused it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. It's made it almost impossible for these guys to play defense. And the other thing that I'm seeing both in the NFL and at the college level is where in the old days, they used to just rip guys' heads off. But I'm saying in the more moderate old days in the last 20 to 25 years, I thought it was pretty reasonable that those defenders on a pass rush situation were given a step and a half, meaning that was reasonable, that if you are running full throttle and the quarterback delivers the ball and you are in the process of hitting them, then they can't be expected that you can stop. And you actually can see players hesitant to go full throttle. And if defensive players at the high level of college football and in the NFL are not playing at full speed, their maximum, then they're not doing their best to play defense.
And that's the way that they get injured. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different kind of a thing. So, yeah, we want it to be hopefully equitable, but also right.
Just because I get few questions, I'm going to answer this in about 4 seconds, because Sadrak is asking me, if I get this correct, tell me if an Alabama-Georgia game gets people more excited than Miami-USC. So it's not even close, and I think I can speak for a lot of people because of what we've seen recently in college football. If Miami and USC played in a national championship game in 2022, that would be, for me personally, I would be so much more excited to watch that game than Alabama-Georgia, because we're talking about two marquee brands that have dusted themselves off and elevated back to the pinnacle of college football. And that would be such a, regardless of who the individual players are, just the uniforms being on the field against each other, and the storyline and the narrative, again, of two marquee brands raising their game back to championship level would be fascinating.
And there's a measure of SEC fatigue going on as well. Like, oh my God, Alabama or Georgia or Clemson or Ohio. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is these same teams I've always seen. Like, okay, it's the same one again. Or Alabama and Georgia already played in the SEC championship game. We're going to see them again. You know, like, they would be both a breath of fresh air and nostalgia put together. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Previous powers, and this is new and different because we've only seen Alabama, and then now Clemson, but I mean, it's been a few teams, you know, and like Miami and SC are both on the outside of those teams that we've watched in the playoff or anything like that recently. And then if you were to see that, it would be old and new at the same time. It would be pretty massive. So, I mean, right now, I would say yes. In general, I think you can make the argument that they're equal, but like based upon where you've been in the last, where all teams that you've mentioned in that question, where everybody's been in the last decade, 15 years, I think that Miami SC would be one of the bigger spectacles in terms of everybody, as opposed to like Alabama, Georgia, part 47.
Yeah. Falcon Rex, I believe where you're going here. So we had a commenter to the channel here recently who was making an excuse for a particular football team losing because the turf was bad. So Falcon Rex is saying, Mark Rogers, you must do a monthly show that is a deep dive into the different turf at each school. Well,
I mean, they do have that stuff listed, you know, and it's in there. I've seen it like on the stat pages and things like that. Like, is it artificial? Is it real turf? And then they even go so far. I've seen a site because somebody else, a friend of mine, is really into horticulture. Random. But they were talking about the different kinds of grass that are the real turf in different places. So this one uses this kind, this one uses this kind, and things like that. So that work can be done. And happy hunting if you decide to do it, Mark.
And to conclude the show, Kane999, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate that so much. And for everyone else who contributed tonight, thank you for that. Cam, State of the U in the midst of March Madness and baseball.
Yeah, so baseball is only lost one game. Was the first game against Harvard. So that's 6-1, I believe, right now. March Madness, Miami Hurricanes are tipping off at 9 o'clock tonight. If we win this game, then we'll secure a double bye in the ACC basketball tournament. And then we should hopefully have our position previews hitting the site now, if not sooner, for spring practice and things like that. Some recruiting profiles already up by one of our new guys, Zach Markham. So he's assisting in with some recruiting coverage as well. Another couple of things, a couple of fun things maybe for you guys coming up, but a variety of things. Again, we have a variety of new writers, and I hope that you interact with and engage with them and their content. We will always, be at the forefront of commentary and analysis with the Miami Hurricanes, like we always have been and always will be. So yeah, we have a bunch of new guys, myself in there also helping in. So there's lots for you to like. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at the State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, where your Riverside Highlanders are now in the Elite Eight for my second run through College Hoops Dynasty. I haven't even put that up because I just finished the game just now. And the website's open 24/7, 365. So come on over, fan with us at stateoftheu.com. Please, thank you.
Cam, thank you for all that you do for our channel right here in this show. Of course, it only exists because of you, and I'm going to thank you on behalf of everyone who loves Miami football, who comes into these chats each and every week for the outstanding storytelling, information, insight, and so forth. We'll be back here next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. God willing, expect it. That's the intent, but please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notifications because schedules do change at times, and sometimes we got to change that up. Cam, have a great rest of your week.
Hey, guys, do the same, man. I'll talk to you soon.